Hi guys, welcome. I got so much stuff sitting over here. It's like creeping off the edge of my desk. There's so much of it. New drugstore products. Last week I did the video all about new drugstore skincare, and now I've got like 3 times as many makeup products to tell you about in this video. The good, the bad, and the ugly. That's pretty much what it is. I don't know if I'll call this video that, but that's the way I feel about this. Maybe that's being a tidbit dramatic. I would say it's the good / great, the average, and the ugly. These are all things that I accumulated during or a little bit before the Emily Awards, so I've had a while to play with these, and I thought, you know, it's long overdue to just do a haul on this stuff. I'm gonna try it all out, and I'm gonna wait till I can actually do a video and give you some major feedback on it. First thing I want to mention, and we're going to start off with the things that I really liked. So that would be these new Covergirl True Naked eyeshadow palettes. I was really pleased with these. Do you guys remember when they put out, hold on, let me find it for you. They recently put out like these quads in this style, and it was kind of an improved formula, I think, for Covergirl. Reminds me a lot of those Maybelline Eye Studio quads that I really enjoy. Well, basically it feels like that shadow texture, and they've put out several neutral eyeshadow palettes. So if you can't get enough of the neutral eye palettes, they have one called Goldens, they have one called Roses, and one called Nudes. And I am wearing the Nudes one today for a very like taupey brown eye. And something that I do like about these is that they're not all the same finish. Like, there are some highly shimmery shades in these. There are some that have maybe a little bit of like very, very fine sparkle, but there are also some matte colors. So I appreciate the variety. This is a really nice basics palette, by the way, because you've got 3 matte shades that are just super, you know, easy to use, the kinds of shades you'd wear a lot. So I've got the 2 matte browns in my crease. I've got this really shimmery taupe color. It's so pretty. I've got that all over the lid. I've got some of this really light shimmery shade on the lid and around the inner corner as well. Blended some of this dark shimmery brown on the lower lash lines. So end result, I mean, you can go very smoky with this. I didn't even touch the black for this look. I feel like some of the standard Covergirl quads, you know, not so much this formula, but their regular formula, kind of chalky, you know, not super pigmented. And so I feel like these are a major improvement. I'm really thinking about doing a video more in depth on all of these. If you would like to see that, or maybe some potential dupe discussion, let me know in the comments section. It's kind of hard for me to pick a favorite between these. I feel like the Nudes is very wearable, very classic, great for the cool taupe lovers, but I mean, for me personally, I love the Roses. That might be one of my favorites out of this bunch, just because I love shadows that verge on that berry mauve look. And I also think the Goldens are great because there are some really nice golds in here, both like a true gold, a light gold, a bronze, and then all of the shades that would coordinate well with those. But the formula is nice. If you decide to try these out, I don't think you'll be disappointed. Yet another hit from Covergirl that I absolutely love is this True Blend blush. This is the medium rose shade, and it's kind of the style of a baked blush. So you might think, you know, is that going to be super duper dry, or what's the texture going to be on this? It's so soft. This is one of those things where the swatch does not do it justice. Like, the swatch is not bad. It can really catch the light. It's got a little luminosity, but no glitter. The shade is like this pretty fusion of peach, neutral, and berry. I feel like as I look at it, I can pick out all of those tones, and I just love the way it looks on the cheeks. I think it's very radiant. I just stumbled across this, not really in a special display. It was kind of at the end of an aisle with Wet n Wild products, some new, some old, and they have this MegaGlo Illuminating palette in Catwalk Pink. Does anybody remember when Catwalk Pink was like just the size of a regular compact? Well, they blew that sucker up and they made it super shimmery. I've got it on as my highlight today. I think it really packs a punch, and I think this could actually be a blush / highlight palette, because I think you could use this half and blend these 2 shades together, make that be your blush. It looks like a kind of rose gold type blush shade, and then these 2 make a really intense highlight. It is kind of powdery, it's kind of light. I wouldn't describe this as a creamy feeling product, but yet it is still very pigmented. The sections of product are actually wide enough if you really wanted to confine a smaller sized highlight brush to just one shade. I think you absolutely could. But I think this was a good move from Wet n Wild, because they've got some really nice blushes blushes out. They've recently put out, you know, their little split pan contour palette, which I love. And so I think it was time for something really, really glowy like this. And I think they did a really good job with it. Staying on the highlight topic, and still a product I would recommend. I think it works really well. I just don't necessarily think everyone needs this, because not everybody needs 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 shades of highlight. But this is the Strobe of Genius palette from NYX, and it's just loaded with every tone of highlight someone could want. As far as the layout, they've got some more, like, I don't know, maybe unusual shades for highlights up in the top part, and then like a really rose gold, a little bit of a goldeny champagne, a really light shade here. Yes, I've already scoured my collection for dupes, and while some shades, you know, I've looked through Becca, The Balm, etc., some high-end highlights are really close to a few of these, but not necessarily exact dupes. So just throwing that out there. The textures on these are awesome. There is one shade that was kind of a dud for me, and that's this yellow one. Like, it gives off hardly any color. When I put it on my cheeks, I can't really see it. This is a light lilac color, but it has kind of an iridescent look on the skin. It is bright. This palette might call for a whole video on itself as well, but the top couple of shades here on either side of the lilac are both a little bit cooler, rosy type colors, and then I would say things happening down here are a little bit more warm. Of all of them, this shade right here has a little bit of a softer shimmer to it. I actually kind of dusted it all over my skin the other day and was pretty pleased with the way that looked. For deeper skin, you know, shades like this and this would make really beautiful highlights, and if you're lighter skin and you want to use those shades, I mean, use them as a way of topping off your blush, or put them more where your blush placement would be, and they're really beautiful that way too. But unless you're like super duper into highlighting, does one need a full palette of highlights? I don't know. If you're makeup crazy like me, maybe you do. I do think the quality is there with 6 out of the 7 shades, so I do enjoy that palette. More things that work, and I'm not gonna give a long drawn out explanation for this, but my cushion from the L'Oreal True Match Lumi line, I have a full video breaking down everything cushion. Cushion foundations, a blush, an eyeliner, and this was probably my top pick out of what I talked about there. So loving that. More things that work: NYX Ombre blushes, lip colors. I'm holding the blush in Whoops, if I don't stick a nail in it, the NYX Ombre blush in Mauve Me. I think that's a really unique shade. It's got a little sheen to it. It can look very different depending on how much product you pack on and whether or not it's catching the light. It can just have a really unique look on the skin. So loving that. Kind of similar to the Balm In-Stain blush in Houndstooth, if anyone has that. One of my favorite lip duos from that line is the one in Bonnie and Clyde. That's the one with the warm tomatoey red and then a berry side that you can blend into it. Full video on all these products. Some people complain that there's not enough product in these. I guess I wasn't too shocked because they are double-ended sticks. One end is the thicker lip color stick, one end is the liner. I didn't expect to get like the full amount you might normally have, but I love blending this bright red in with the berry on the lips. I think it creates the most beautiful ombre effect, so I enjoy that. I think quality-wise, it's really, really good. These don't bleed outside the lips, yet they're very intense. They go on easily. NYX has just been on their game with lip liner type products lately. I tried this Maybelline Lasting Drama waterproof gel pencil. This is in the shade Cashmere White, and this is what I've been wearing occasionally around the inner corner. It is like my favorite inner corner highlight because it goes on like butter. I mean, no pressure necessary, and it really catches the light. And a lot of times you'll try to highlight that area with shadows and maybe it will show right after application, but that's a quick place for things to kind of wear off for me. So when I use this, it lasts all day, and I kind of pull it upward a little bit up onto the upper lash line and then just grab a Q-tip and blend out the edges of it just a little bit. But just FYI, not a retractable pencil. You will need to sharpen that. One new pencil from Maybelline that is retractable is the Master Precise Skinny. Again, we're still talking about things that worked, and I really like this pencil. The shade I have it in is called Defining Black 210. And look, does this packaging style look familiar to anyone? Just like Maybelline Define-A-Brow, they took that skinny Maybelline Define-A-Brow. It's like the exact same design. This lasts a really long time. It almost kind of rivals the staying power of my Milani Blackest Black Kohl Kajal eyeliner. But this is a very fine tip. I've been wearing it in my lower inner rim. Staying power is pretty good there, but I love how easily this gets the upper inner rim, the tight line area in between the lashes, really wedging it in there, whether you're going from this direction or just trying to go across your upper lash line and get super duper close to the lashes and really work it in there. This does it so easily. Draws on much like the other one, very black, but a very fine line, minimal pressure required. This one is retractable, so if you like very fine tipped pencils and you think there's a place for this in your collection, you might want to check it out. I've tried a couple of these Maybelline Color Tattoo concentrated crayons. Did I not say when the color tattoos came out in the pots that it would be really great if they would come out with that formula in a jumbo stick? And now here we are, folks. The formula, really long wearing. It is the kind of thing, you know, you can draw on, you can rub over it. It does stay in place for me, has good staying power. But I do find these to be a bit more sheer than the regular color tattoos were. Has anybody else noticed that? Like if you were to take these across your lids, I feel like I have to build up the color just a little bit more, whereas if I just stuck my finger in one of the color tattoo pots, it's pretty full on color right from the get-go. So something has changed a little bit in the formula. It doesn't affect the staying power, but I do think it affects the application. I do really like both of my shades. I use this Bronze Truffle as kind of a base on my lower lash line. Not that you can really tell because I topped it off with a lot of shadow. It's a really pretty soft metallic, not too brassy. Then I love this Lilac Lust, almost smoky lilac shade. I think that's beautiful. Oh, there is one more thing that's in my like pile. It's like half in my like pile for one shade and half into my so-so pile. But it's the Covergirl Oh Sugar lip color in Gumdrop. This says vitamin infused balm, and it does feel really comfortable. I do think it's nice and moisturizing on the lips. And I think this shade, it smells so much like those fresh sugar tinted lip balms. This is the one in Sugar Berry, and I do think the color, the appearance on the lips is a near dupe for this kind of shade. So the smell is there, the texture is maybe not quite as thick and rich as these balms, but the color is definitely on point. As you can see, it's going to show up way more sheer than it appears to be in the stick, but I do think this is a beautiful shade. It's like a pinky berry, it's right up my alley. I do kind of like that these have the formed shape of a typical lipstick bullet, because with colors like this that show up more, it's nice to have that precision. However, I was rather frustrated with the Cupcake shade here, which is shade number 1. And it looks like this. I would expect a nice, soft, light pink. And I tell you, I gotta sit here and swatch this for a good, I don't know, 30 seconds before I start to see any color building up on my hand. It's like so soft, barely there. Does have that nice feel that the other one has. Does have the same scent, but I'm not gonna waste my time with this if I can't see any color on my lips. We're officially in the so-so pile now. This is the Rimmel. It's called the Only One lipstick. It's called Oh So Wicked is the shade I picked. This has pigmentation out the you-know-what. I mean, it is just so bold. It's rich with one swipe. I mean, look at that shade. Love the shade, but it's also extremely creamy, and I don't feel like this is a shade I want to wear in a very creamy, almost borderline, like little bit greasy formula. That scares me. I think this line of lipsticks has potential, and I would absolutely love to try some lighter shades because I think that might be right up my alley for this kind of formula. But this particular one, for as slippery as the formula is and as dark as this shade is, that's not a good combo for me. So this is in my so-so pile because I actually probably will repurchase more of these shades, but this particular one, I'm just kind of like, eh. Another thing that like I don't mind using, I think it's a good product, but I have my doubts about it as time goes on, is this Maybelline Brow Drama Crayon, which I have in the shade probably the darkest one. It doesn't say what color I have here, but it's a twist up crayon, and they've kind of marketed this as a pomade stick that's going to not only like tint your brows, but it's going to hold them in place as well. So it's got some texture to it, and I do like that aspect. I like the thought of a quick, just kind of swipe it on thing. I can see how this would be an appealing product, and I've got some of this in my brows today. However, once this stick, which is already kind of a thick, you know, jumbo stick, once that starts to wear down, how are you going to keep on using it? Because it simply twists up. This is not a product you're going to be sharpening. And I think when this starts to round off, it's going to be way too much. It's going to be really hard to get in there and confine it to those little areas without getting more than you need. So that's my concern with this product. I do like where their head's at. You know, I like where they're going with it, but maybe if they put this out like in a sharpenable version with a little sharpener on the side, that would be really cool. I think the last thing now from the so-so pile is this CoverGirl Plumpify Blast Pro mascara. While I love the word plumpify, I think that's just a great term. This is not my favorite mascara. Of course, I'm comparing it to CoverGirl Supersizer, which I love. The brush looks cool, and I do like how they put bristles right out to the tip, kind of like a benefit they're real type concept. The brush does come off really nicely cleaned off, and I appreciate that as well, but it's quite a bit larger compared to the Supersizer, and so that's been a little bit funky for me. I mean, you get in a zone of using a certain mascara wand, and then you take the size of that times like 2 or 3, you're gonna notice it, and it's gonna feel awkward. Also, I feel like I've got to do more work to build up the product. I've got to do a solid 2 to 3 coats to get close to what I get with the Supersizer. This does do a decent job of thickening up the lashes, but I don't think it does as well as Supersizer with length. Now we're going to move on to the stuff that I really just would not recommend, and so we got an even worse mascara here. This is from Rimmel. It's called the Super Curler 24-Hour Volume and Curl Mascara. Definitely was drawn in by the curling claim here because curl is something my lashes don't want to do. So I picked this one up. It is a classic kind of large curved brush mascara wand here, traditional bristles. The CoverGirl was rubber bristles, by the way. The brush comes off really cleaned off, almost maybe a little too cleaned off, because when I apply this to my lashes, it looks like hardly anything is on there. And even with multiple coats, like I start building up the little funky ends going off the tip of my lashes. Like I can tell it's really trying to build some length on itself, but it's not looking normal. I think the plan here was probably to put out a really lightweight mascara that wouldn't build up too much product on the lashes so they could continue to hold their curl somewhat. And I would say, yeah, this did stay very light on the lashes, but it just didn't make my lashes look big enough at all. It's just a very natural looking mascara. I don't know, some of us here aren't into natural looking lashes. 2 eyeliner fails for me from Physicians Formula. One I won't speak about at length in this video because I already did in the cushion video. This cushion eyeliner, long story short, it started out as a really cool thing that I was super excited about, and then in a matter of 2-3 applications, it started to really get dry. Check the cushion video for all the dirty details on that. This other one that I have, this is also from that Eye Booster line, and this says 2-in-1 Lash Boosting Ergonomic Felt Tip Eyeliner Plus Serum. So both of these claim to have that serum in it that boosts your lashes up. I don't know, I haven't been using these long enough to talk about the kinds of results they mention here, which is like after 3 weeks. I've absolutely loved the eyeliner from this particular line that has the very fine brush tip. This is what you want to try. But this thing, I mean, they claim there's even a little thumbprint on here. That's where you put your thumb, and this is my issue. This tip with the little like notches on it, it says precision felt tip with 4 ink reservoir system. What? Why? Why do we need that? If I lay this down across my lash line, I get this little bumpy look because that's the way it transfers down. I'm definitely one who doesn't just like to apply the eyeliner from the tip. I like to actually utilize the length of whatever the applicator might be. So I don't like the way that applies. The very teeny tip is just a little bit bendy, but there's no flexibility with this whole part. So I do think that makes application slow. And if you do decide decide to lay it down, plan on it looking a little bit uneven. I have 4 contour palettes in this pile. I'm gonna start off with the one that I think is, maybe could have been more toward my like so-so pile, you know? It's not that bad, but I just wouldn't really shout from the rooftops, hey, everybody needs to buy this, because I don't think it's that great either. This is the Maybelline Master Contour Palette, and I have it in the medium to deep shade because I just thought there might be a little more punch, a little more pigment out of this. This shade is pretty warm. Contour can be workable, but it's definitely more on the warm side than I typically like to grab for. When I get out in more broad daylight, I feel like it just shows a little bit more. It doesn't look quite like a natural shadow. The blush I'm wearing is kind of a shimmery peach. It's okay. It's pretty average as far as blushes go. Like, it would never just stand out to me if I had a single of that in my collection. And then this highlight might actually be my pick of the palette. It's kind of a soft golden shade and it looks really pretty on the skin. I guess my thought was this: for as many great contouring products as there are on the market, for as many beautiful blushes as there are and beautiful highlights, this just doesn't stack up that great with all of those various items. So I wouldn't really recommend it, although it doesn't totally suck. Now, Rimmel also has their little contour trio. The blush, I could not really get that to show up very well on my skin. I have this in Golden Sands. I guess as the name implies, this bronzer part is just very golden. It's very bronzer-y, not really so much something I'm gonna wanna wear as a contour because it hardly shows up as a contour. The pigmentation I thought was just really lacking in this little palette. So overall, you know, the tones on these two could have potentially been good if they were more pigmented. This middle shade, though, not even close to something I want to be contouring with. And then L'Oreal put out their Infallible Pro Contour Duo. So this is one of those situations where they've given you the brush that you can supposedly sweep across here and you can just boom, put it on your cheeks and there's your look. Remember when they did the one sweep eyeshadow that you could supposedly take that applicator and go across the 3 eyeshadow shades and then put it directly on your eyes? Like, it's a really, I think, gimmicky idea. And some people might think to use a product in this way and then not really go ahead and fully blend it out because this brush isn't good for blending. So I don't know, it's just a little misleading, I think, in terms of that technique. This is the contour that I'm wearing today, and it's the best contouring shade probably of these 3 powder palettes that I'm talking about. I do think it's usable. It works well. It seems to have good pigment. The highlight, I couldn't really get to have a lot of good payoff once sheared out on the cheeks. The highlight that I'm wearing today is that Catwalk pink from Wet n Wild, as I said earlier. But the big reason why I don't feel like I can recommend this Infallible Pro Contour is that for a fraction of the price, Covergirl has an even larger contouring palette with the ideal contour shade and then a matte highlight, which is kind of nice to have in the sea of ultra shimmery highlights. And this works so great. This is in the shade Caramel Toffee. I think it's awesome. I've done a full review on this product. It's not brand new. So this versus this, I think this totally wins. So as a result, this isn't something I feel like I can recommend. NYX has come out with a cream highlight and contour palette. Several of you were telling me about this when I talked about the e.l.f. cream contour palette. And this has I have it in the shade Light first off. You've got your contour and your lighter shade here, which just has a little bit of a yellowish tone, and both of these are basically matte, and then you have a shimmery accent type color right here. My problem with this, I think the tones could work for me, and I've used it and I've been able to pull it off okay, but the consistency of these, it's so thick. Like, it's really thick. It's not very easy to blend across the skin. I was just really disappointed in the way this felt. And I think, you know, whether you want to pick it up with a sponge or a brush or your finger and put it across the skin, it tugs. It just does not mesh right back into your skin. I thought the e.l.f. contour palette, the cream contour palette, did a lot better job. The mascara cream compact that I had demonstrated back in my cream products video, I'll link to that. Those things just went on effortlessly. They were simple to work with, and this one, I mean, I just don't have the time and patience for this. So that wraps up this epic long video on new drugstore products. There are still a few things that I just hadn't really had quite enough of an opportunity to deal with yet that will probably work their way into their own individual video. But thank you for spending time with me today. If there were any related videos that I mentioned that would give you more insight into some of these products, I will link to those below. And have a great day. I'll see you soon. Bye.